All right, so we have here the quotes summary, right, that is displaying only one of the fields, but obviously it'd be nice if it's displaying all the other fields if they fit. Let's now try working on the quote details. Okay, so in the quote details, we want at least a drop down, right, where we can select the quote that we want to work with, right? So let's focus on doing that. So if we go to the quote details over here, right, we're going to use the same identical strategy for the quote service. Right, we're going to use the same service. Right, here's the same exact service. And we're going to use the same constructor, right, to go and instantiate our service. So I'm just copying and pasting. Okay, and I'm going to use the same state management for quotes so that I can go. I'm going to need the same quotes, right, so I can render them as a drop-down. Correct? Okay. So it's basically the same content, the same exact code that we have here from the quote summary of fetching all the quotes, but the difference is that we want to render it as a drop-down so that you can then select which quote you want to look at. Right, so this might be a select. Oops. And as we render this, we want to render different options for the different quotes that we got. So we're going to say this dot state dot map quotes dot map, same thing as before, right? But instead of rendering a table row, we're going to render options, right? And they two need to be unique. It'll be quote.id, and we're going to render the ID of the quote, so quote.id. Okay. So let's see. There they are. So we have all the IDs there. Or perhaps we might want to be a little more, maybe put some something around there, and then maybe quote dot job description, or the title maybe, right? Clean house, walk the dog, or whatever you want to say. So for human usage. Now one of the things that you need to add here is also the value of the option when you actually select it. When you actually select it, by default, the value of the option is the text. Right? That's too narrow. That's too hard to work with. Instead, the value, we're going to take the quote ID as the value. Right? So that if you do select it, so on change, if it changes, right? If it changes, we want to notify a function here, maybe select a quote that'll have the quote ID, and maybe we're going to do just a console log quote ID. And on change, we're going to take the event. We're going to take the event, and we're going to call this dot select quote. I'm going to pass the event dot target dot value. That's the value from the event that was generated. Right? So let's see. Actually, we could do maybe an alert. Quote details. So if I say 2, it alerts 2, or alerts 1. Make sense? Right? So what would happen is that in your select quote, you wouldn't do an alert. You would use the same this dot service. So what is it called? Service. Yeah, this dot service dot find quote by ID, which we didn't implement. You would pass in the quote ID. you pass in the quote ID, you'd have then, here's a quote, and then save it in the state. This dot set state quote quote. And quote initially might be empty, an empty object. Okay? Make sense? All right, I think I'll leave it here. Excellent.